This is Keaton DC with Max and Brent, unlocking the market on the district's first real estate podcast. And now, here are your hosts, Max Raven and Brent Jackson.
Welcome to Keaton DC with Max Raven, and I am Brent Jackson. Today it's just Max and myself. We're going to chat a little bit about the market, what we did this past summer. Talk about the past couple of episodes, what's coming up on the next couple of episodes, and just kind of go around the table here. Max,
what's up?
What's going on, buddy?
I am doing great. The summer was super busy on all fronts, both business and pleasure. How about you?
The same, very busy. We are almost about to pass our 2020 volume. We should pass that here coming up in September, early October. So our year is off to a phenomenal, not even start. We're halfway through the year, right? Or 3/4 through the year.
Right. What was your target volume for the year? And where are you?
So our target volume was 150 and we are just shy of 140.
Jesus. That's a lot. That's awesome.
Million.
Yeah. I got I know that. 150 million. Yeah, we're a smaller team. Our target was 90 million for the year, and we're pushing 65 right now. So we've had a couple misses on some bigger transactions. We had a couple listings that, under contract, should have gone, didn't compute. That happens sometimes. But otherwise, still fantastic year and unbelievable pace to everything.
Yeah, and we have a lot of stuff coming up in the fall. I know we had our roundtable team meeting here yesterday, actually. So every month, it's the first Wednesday of the month. We kind of go round robin. We calculate everybody's activity points. It's called SAM, so it's Sales Activity Manager.
Okay.
So you just compute like how many touches, how many open houses, how many clients, how many closings, volume, production units, how many spearheads did you put into your database, things like that. A little tedious for some of our agents to put in, but if you kind of stick with it, everything that we do, you're forming a track pattern for future success down the road.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Building that roadmap to a success for a team, that's the difference between sort of spinning your wheels or staying on the same level and really going to the next level each quarter, each year. That's a big deal.
Yeah. I was talking to Rob this morning, just coming into the office every day, getting here at 8:00, and everybody's got a different schedule, but having a schedule in place, getting up in the morning, putting on your clothes, getting ready, you come in with a purpose, knock out your phone calls, your emails, your text messages, your flyers, your letter writing, whatever you're doing to generate business. I always say do that at the early part of the day so that people's days go crazy. You get that one-off call, like they want to go look at something in the afternoon or late morning.
Yeah.
So you've got to be out there prospecting, and you've got to do it on a regular basis. Otherwise, you put that to the wayside.
Right.
Next thing you know, 2 months comes down the road, and you're like, where's my business?
Yeah, you're making me nervous because there was so much distraction over the summer with a lot of stuff like that.
What'd you do this summer?
Well, aside from real estate, we got a couple nice vacations in there. We spent a week in North Carolina in the Outer Banks and then another week in Maine in Bar Harbor, which is unbelievable. I think I'll do that exact circuit next year. That was a perfect complement. You get the hot beach summer and then like the cool coastline of Maine. Really beautiful. And then other than that, living with 2 kids, they're in camps, try to keep as regular schedule as possible. And our office schedule, I don't think we're as regimented as you guys are, but I try to get to the office every day if possible. But you know how the business is. It takes you out of the office constantly. You're in your car, you're working from your car, you're getting text while you're trying to drive in some ridiculous traffic. This is why my next car has to be autopilot, because I am just the texting and calls coming in with all kinds of different insane stuff while we're driving. It's too much. I need the autopilot. That's the next level right there.
Are you going with the Tesla?
Whatever makes sense. We'll see when my next lease is finished. But I watched these TikToks of the Tesla autopilot, the more contained autopilot where there's just driving around small places and it's very sophisticated. I'm like, that is what I need. I need a city driver Tesla. So whenever that's out, I'll buy it.
I think I've got a friend that just got one, and he said that he can't go back to a regular car now. He's an older gentleman, and he said that he's driving to and from Atlanta for whatever reason, and the autopilot he'll put on there. Maybe he shouldn't be telling me this, but he can like check his email or text messages, and he says that the car drives better than himself.
Right. I would
So
hope.
now when he finds himself driving in the city, he gets a little scared. He's like, "Uh-oh, I don't know how to drive anymore."
Yeah. Well, to me, if the autopilot function works well in the city environment, which it will eventually, I would be happy to just actually my car now does park itself. It'll parallel park itself, and as soon as it starts the parallel parking mode, I actually start emailing and texting immediately to try to catch up on things.
That's crazy.
So yeah. Brent, what was your summer all about? How was your summer?
Much of the same. So we spent the first part. We were June and July. We were here in DC. Little guy going up to tennis camp in College Park. Little girl still doing nanny. And then for the better part of August, we were out for 4 weeks. So we did 3 weeks in Delray Beach at a camp called Rick Macy for little guy.
Mm-hmm.
And then we did 2 weeks at the Greenbrier. So that was like end of July, pretty much all of August. So I've been out for almost 4 or 5 weeks now. But I mean, it was very stringent, right? So a couple of updates. We sold our place in South Beach. We bought a place in Delray so we can hopefully do our summers tennis full-time training down there in
Nice.
Delray. But I mean, the schedule, it's like I tell people I never really leave. I never go on vacation. So my schedule is getting up at 4:30. I'm out the door at the gym, running by the beach. Get back in at 6:30, get the little guy up, showers, all that stuff. We eat breakfast at 7:30. We're in the car by 7:30. Takes 30 minutes to get to this tennis camp. 8 to 8:30, meeting with the parents. There's a developer from DC that's down there, so I'm chatting with him a little bit. 8:30 to 11, where I'm doing work in the car, air conditioning, text, emails, phone calls, all that jazz. 11 to 12, we have lunch. 12 to 1, it's a private lesson. I'm out in the blitzing sun. I've gotten a little bit of a sun tan here on me during the summertime. And then
Don't worry, it disappears within 5 minutes
Exactly.
of returning to DC.
I'll be back to that West Virginia white for me. And then 1 to 3 is Keith's back in tennis camp, and I'm like, that's when I would go out and tour properties, and whether it's in Boca, Delray, Deerfield, educating myself on the market down there, just in case we have a client or have something I want to buy. 3 to 4 back there watching him play tennis, and then 4 o'clock on doing my thing. So still keeping the schedule, even though I'm away from the office. I'm still very busy down there. So that was my summer in a nutshell.
Well, a lot of agents from Northeast cities like ours in New York also have side interests in Florida. It's very popular. The agents go back and forth, and obviously our clientele goes back and forth. So that's a great market, obviously, for you to be working in and looking around on the side. It's always been of interest to me. I don't spend enough time down there.
I'm thinking about
that's great.
I'm going to talk with Jonathan, the owner of our company, or someone about getting my license down there. And I was talking to our developer friend down there because he wants to start buying some places, and I'd be very niche with marketing and selling things down there. I'd be from, again, this is Delray Beach, but I'd be from Atlantic to Linton, from the Gulf Stream over to the ocean. So it's a very small corridor, but not working buyers, but just working sellers, and working on a team somewhere down there, so I could kind of be bi-coastal.
That's awesome.
So Max, I don't know how many shows we're down, 10, 12 shows in our belt. What do you think about our past guests?
Well, here's what I'll say so far about the experience of doing the podcast is I really enjoy it. At first, sometimes I'm concerned I don't have the correct energy to put forward, when I arrive to record. But then you get into this mode, and I think you do too. I think you're like, you go into podcast mode and you get inquisitive. And I've learned a lot from talking to our guests. And they're people that we've known, and some people we didn't, like Julie in one of our upcoming episodes. But great stuff and a great experience. I think it's a great experience for a lot of reasons. I've really enjoyed all
myself
of this.
included. I think hearing the stories of the people that are coming on, like whether it's Clarence or Shannon or Mattia, everybody is successful in their own right, but hearing their story on how they became a successful agent, to me is just fascinating, because everybody comes to this industry with a different walk of life, and it's just, to me, interesting to hear those stories come through.
We'll hear how they talk about it in their own words as well, versus just reading their bio or learning about them secondhand is very unique, obviously, to everyone and different. And I love the way all of our colleagues and the other people we've talked to present themselves. It's
and as far as like the not negativity, but I guess one of my not fears, but it's, I'm just saying West Virginia, but it's just me as a person. I talk very fast, low voice, and then it's a monotone. So I'm like, sometimes I hear myself on the podcast playback, and I'm like, oh my God, like, is there a way like to dub my voice, have someone come in and just say what I'm thinking?
I actually didn't understand anything you said for the last 5 minutes. So yeah, I mean, look, we're all learning things all the time. And like I said, this is a great experience. And I really enjoy doing it with you too, because I think we're a good complement to each other in terms of how we handle things. I know we're both intense realtors, but the way you run your team and everything. And, I come from a slightly different background. We're a little more laid back, although we get things done. But I think I need you to come over to my house at 6 a.m. every day for a week and see how you handle the people in my house, because a lot of things get forgotten. Lunches are missing from school backpacks, and it's not the Brent Jackson household, I'll tell you that.
No, there's some screaming that goes on. And no, Andrea and little girl, they like to sleep until like 8 o'clock. So there's
okay.
Yes.
Just checking. Just checking to see if there's some normalcy.
Yes. I mean, we're polar opposites, where I'm very like regimented, like up at every 4:30. Like this morning, I don't understand why my little daughter thinks, and this was yesterday too, she's up around 4:30 as well, like just these past 2 days, and she thinks I'm going to the zoo. She's like, she'll tell, hey, Mommy, why is Daddy going to the zoo and it's still dark outside? I'm like, I'm not going to the zoo. I'm going to go get big muscles. So anyway, that's a little lightheartening. So Max, we got a couple of great guests coming up in the next couple of weeks. Tell us a little bit about some of the guests coming up in the next couple of episodes.
Yeah, absolutely. One guest that I was really happy that she decided to join us. Her name is Julie Sousa. She owns a design home styling company, and she's based out of Boston, but does a lot of stuff virtually. And we met through a mutual friend, and she's quite something on TikTok right now. And she's increasing her TikTok presence every hour. And I really enjoyed talking to her and hearing just her insights on how quickly everything snowballed for her based on her social media stuff. She's a great guest. And then, of course, we have Lauren Davis from our company coming up, and she's a generational real estate powerhouse in the DC area. I mean, we all know Lauren, and she's fantastic.
Yeah, she has some great stories. I enjoyed chatting with her and learning more about her and her mom, for that matter, because I wasn't in the business with her mom. And then we have Kevin Brown coming up.
Yep.
I love New York City real estate, and he's such an energetic. He was such a great guest to have on the episode, and he had some really, really interesting, funny stories.
He's lively.
I think we'll probably have Shannon come back on. We've got a great guest coming up, Ron Mangus. He's got his own little niche. He's contemporary housing, so he's got a great following and a great story as well.
He's a very knowledgeable guy.
Just wrapping up here, Max, a little bit of a state of the market, what's going on in DC and the market in general. What's your take on the market in general? How have you seen it play out over the summer and this year? And then what's your thoughts on the upcoming year? Any stats, anything you want to share?
Well, on the micro level for where we work, my thoughts are we're still facing an inventory issue with especially single family houses in the inside DC area, inside the Beltway area, for a lot of product that a lot of certain buyers are trying to look for. Buyers in specific price ranges, especially under $2 million, anything inside the Beltway, very scarce right now. So maybe in fall we have some new inventory picking up that might help flush this out, so to speak. But we have a couple of things coming up after Labor Day that I'm aware of, and I'm sure more calls will be coming in, but I don't really anticipate a huge inventory influx that's going to solve this issue.
No, I think you're exactly right. And some of the stuff that I've been reading, I think there was an Urban Turf article that came out. So just year over year to date, DC appreciation, we saw 20%. The inventory shrunk to 40-year lows across the country, including here in DC, right, which has spiked the appreciation for some of these homeowners. And it's, and I saw it down in Florida, as I mentioned. Sold a place, buying a place, and seeing what some of these people are paying across the market and different submarkets. It's crazy.
Oh, yeah.
But here in DC, we're seeing a steady, 20% growth.
So, and let's not forget mortgage interest rates being still at bare minimum mortgage rates for anyone to make for any banks to be making any money off this stuff, because the cost of money is so cheap. Some 15-year loans are quoted at under 2% for good sized loans. So the money's very cheap. We've all experienced some, we're not economists, but we've experienced some inflation type of issues with the cost of everything over the last year as things began to reopen, cost of travel, cost of recreation, cost of goods, and housing is just falling along with that because the money is cheap.
And one thing you brought up earlier is about the inventory levels coming back. And one question I get asked a lot, maybe you do as well, is like, when is the market going to crash? Is it going to be like 2008? There was an article I was reading, I don't know if it was today or last week in Fortune, but it talks about like builders, right? So like builders aren't building at the same pace that they were going up to 2008, where they were doing 1.7 million housing starts a month. And again, this is on a macro level across the nation. So starting in 2013, after the foreclosures and the market crashed, they've been doing 1.2 million housing starts a month. So population is outgrowing supply. And according to Freddie Mac, there is a $3.8 million housing shortage across the country. So I don't see the market slowing down anytime soon. There's going to be more inventory. So maybe you don't see 20 offers and $1 million over list price. Maybe it's, 3 offers and full price.
Right. Yeah. I mean, there has to be a limit to where the values have gotten to, and where people start to feel that affordability squeeze based on income levels, savings levels. There's a limit. And also, I don't know, I always think about the intrinsic value of things. When you look at a single family home in a certain neighborhood, and pick any neighborhood in DC, and you think about what it is that you're looking at physically, the land itself and everything else, and you think about whatever the price tag is, some of it seems a little bit bizarre. You have to admit that. But it is the way it is, and it's history. It's solved by itself, but sometimes it's a little odd when you're trying to correlate these things.
Yeah, and even going into the rental market, I know last year the rents fell, and this is across the country as well. Rental market's hot. So
rental market's hot right now.
It fell last year by 15%. I think we were telling some of our people 20 to 25% when we were working for the landlords trying to find renters. But to your point, the market's hot on the rental side, and we're seeing an 11% increase, year over year on the rent prices. So if you think you're going to get a good deal on the renting side, maybe not, especially with rates being low.
I was dealing with multiple offers on rentals for a client recently, out of town tenant client, BIP, needed something very straightforward, single family house, Northwest DC, maybe close in Montgomery County. And it was really tight. 3 applications per house. And this is stuff in the $6,000 to $8,000 a month range, which isn't chump change, right? So
no, that's crazy.
That's how that market is.
And I still think real estate agents are very important, especially in this market, because just to share with you the story,
I'm important.
You are very important. That's why I want to share the story with you.
Thank you.
Maybe you
Thank you.
could get some tips and tricks from you as well. But anyway, over the weekend, we had an out-of-town buyer. They're from California. They pinged us that they wanted to go see this condo. The agent we know very well with another firm, she said that they weren't going to look at offers until Sunday. We showed it Friday. We showed it again on Sunday. We were there for like 2 hours. Later that day, we submitted an offer. It was 1.1. The agent gave us some inside tracks, some inside knowledge, saying that she had 2 other offers to 1.2. They were both all cash.
Yeah.
She gave us the proof that they were 1.2. She showed us the escalation clauses. Our clients got it at 1.16, so 40,000 less than the 2 other offers they had in hand.
Interesting.
Why? Maybe there were some other terms in there or whatnot, but we saw proof that they went up to 1.2, 40,000 less. We were all cash as well. We were told that the other ones were all cash, but again, it just goes to show that agent is very important, because we have relationships with other agents. So if you're thinking about calling that Redfin agent, and there was a Redfin agent that did show the property, and when we were leaving, and he left every door open. All the lights are on. The front door is unlocked. The apartment door is unlocked. So.
Brent, it's okay. This is our podcast. We can go for the hard sell. Okay. Yes, there is absolutely a value to using a realtor who has good relationships. There's no doubt about that. And you are 100% right. And I think that it's absolutely made a difference for buyers that I work with in certain situations, because the agent, I don't know what the legality of saying this is, but Brent, I know you've had agents call you back and say, I want to work with your people, right?
Yes.
So
exactly. And a lot of time it's because they know us, right? Like if it's agent to agent relationship, they know that we have a really good relationship, or we should, with our clients. So they know that if the deal goes sideways, we're going to be able to keep it together. We can put it, usually for the most part, we can put a Band-Aid on something, keep the deal together, make sure that it gets to and through escrow.
Just handling the transaction like professionals, so that the other side isn't always fighting to get another piece of information. If there's financial information, if there's closing scheduling, all that stuff, to know that people are working with other professionals is a big deal, for sure.
Yeah. Any predictions for the rest of this year? We've got 4 more months coming right out of Labor Day and ending our summer here.
I think it'll be a really busy fall market through the holiday season. I already have plenty of new buyers lined up, and I'm just waiting for some inventory to show them in various markets in DC. A couple new listings coming up for after Labor Day, and the calls I anticipate will pick right back up after the holiday. And not that it's slowed down much. This past week's a little bit of a lull, but it's kind of that last summer hurrah.
When you say holidays, are you saying like Thanksgiving, or you think
yes.
it's going to go? Okay.
Yeah. We always have activity between Thanksgiving and New Year's as well, but it's usually a little slower. I think sellers are a little more reluctant to bring their product on the market in that pocket because people are more distracted and they tend to travel more. And this year tends to be more of a normal year than it was before because of the pandemic. So I think that people will be back to their traveling and family visits again, and it'll make that holiday season a little slower, as it usually is.
It's interesting. I tell a story, 2 different stories, depending on who I'm in front of, the seller or the buyer, right? It's like the seller is like, oh, my house is going to sell in a week. And I'm like, to that seller, I'm like, no, our stagers, our painters, our landscapers, everything we're hearing and seeing, there's going to be a lot of inventory coming on. And people are coming back from their summer vacations. They're getting back into the swing of work, school. So it might take 2 or 3 weeks for people to digest the inventory and go through the inventory before things start to pop, which should be the end of September or 1st of October. And with the buyers, I'm like, be patient. There's going to be so much coming on, but you can't, sit around and wait, right?
Yeah.
If something comes on, it looks good, it is good, and it's priced right, you need to be ready to jump on it immediately.
Always. Timing's everything.
Well, Max, that's all I got for you today. It's been a pleasure working with you here through these first couple of episodes. It's been a great summer, ready for the fall market to pick up, ready for these new guests to come out and share with us some words of wisdom. Anything else to add before we close it up here?
No, it's great. And we look forward to bringing you more real estate entertainment and other great guests. And thanks for listening.
Thanks for listening to Keyed in DC with your hosts, Max and Brent. Unlocking the market on the district's first real estate podcast. Remember to subscribe to Keyed in DC on Apple Podcasts or wherever you like to listen. Follow us on Instagram at RavenMax and at Brent E. Jackson. And follow Max on TikTok at MaxwellRaven_properties.